One of the biggest mistakes that I ever made when I was first getting into strength training was too much single joint or quote unquote isolation exercises. Not that these things didn't work, they did, but they didn't work nearly as well as I wanted them to. And over the years, a lot of people and experts that mentors that I followed were always saying basics for the win, basic exercises, things like basic bench press, push-ups, dips, pull-ups, deadlifts, squats, lunges, that sort of thing. Well, there's two big, huge reasons why the most basic, fundamental, and I guess you could argue boring exercises out there are by far the best ways to give you the best chance of building raw strength and muscle. The first of which is these basic fundamental movements are one of the best ways to put tension throughout your entire tension chain. Remember, here at RDP, we don't work muscles, we don't work movements, we work tension chains, and all of my books and videos and the Grind Style Calisthenics workout program is all based around working these chains. And of course, we have our 6 chains, we have our 3 movement chains: push, pull, and squat, and those are responsible for the bulk of your muscular strength and development. And then you have your 3 anatomical chains, of the anterior, aka the flexion chain, the posterior extension chain, and of course the lateral chain. And if we want to have the best chance of getting as much work in the muscle while also potentially sparing joints, exercises that work the entire length of a tension chain. And when we do single joint stuff, what we're doing is we're using partial tension chain tension. So if I'm doing chest flies, for example, that's working primarily my chest, a little bit in the shoulders and the biceps, and that's a fine exercise, but it's always so much harder to get more tension into a given muscle when you're trying to fragment and limit the activation of the other muscles in the chain. Furthermore, using the entire tension chain helps shore up weak links that could be potentially holding you back. So for example, that chest fly that I was mentioning, if you don't have the stability in your shoulders, or your shoulders aren't strong enough, and you don't have your core stability dialed in, and all of these other qualities, you're gonna have those weak links consistently holding you back, and it's going to be harder to adequately work those muscles. Meanwhile, full tension chain exercises will highlight those weaknesses. And a lot of times people don't like this very much. They'll do push-ups, for example. They're like, oh, it's all in the triceps, or oh, it's all in the shoulders. I don't want to work that. I want to work my chest. And they'll abandon the exercise, not realizing that, no, what you're doing is actually finally addressing those weak links. And yes, it may be a, quote, tricep push-up for the short term being, but once those triceps get stronger, it's no longer a weak link, it's no longer holding you back, and all of the muscles in that chain are going to be elevated to a higher level of work capacity so you can make everything stronger and have better endurance, creating a stronger stimulus for hypertrophy. And lastly, it's not to say that the single joint partial chain exercises are bad. By all means, practice them. It's just they shouldn't be the main thing you're working on because they're usually just not adequate enough. And furthermore, if you want to get the most out of those single joint exercises, let's say like bicep curls, for example, the best way to do that is to still treat it as much as a full tension chain exercise as possible. So even if I'm leaning back doing bicep curls on the straps, I'm still engaging my lats, I'm still engaging my glutes, hamstrings, and all of the muscles along my extension chain. I still want all of the muscles of the associated chain still engaged to some degree to provide that support that will allow me to have as much tension as possible in the biceps while doing the curls. Check out these micro workouts for some full tension chain exercises to get the most out of these ideas. If you like this sort of thing, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of deal really helps the channel out. And thank you very much for watching as always. Be fit and live free.